Hey, Coach. This probably feels like years ago now, but before the bubble, you talked about Devin playing some point guard, and obviously you guys have had roster changes and guys stepped up in the bubble for you. But just what are your thoughts on allowing him to run the offense a little bit? And does that help or hurt that you have guys like Langston and Etuan and then the emergence of Cam and Javon to play alongside him if he were to do that?
You know, that Devin doesn't have to necessarily play point guard to have the ball and initiate offense, especially in our make offense. Like, anybody can bring the ball down the floor. In Orlando, we had Dario bring the ball down the floor on miss opportunities, just so we wouldn't have to slow down, and we trust his ability to make plays. So I think Devin is in that same vein. There are times where he gets the ball, and rather than run a set to get him the ball, we'll just have him bring the ball down the floor and get into, whatever we're running, whether it be a pick and roll or something else. So I don't think he has to be a quote unquote point guard in label, but he can still do the stuff he normally does, or he can initiate the offense by having the ball as soon as we get it off of a rebound, or just quickly taking the ball out of bounds.
Next up is David Brandt with the Associated Press. He'll be followed by Dwayne Rankin.
Hey, Monty, I know it's early in the evaluation process, but with Jalen Smith, what do you think his role is going to be these first couple months? Is he more of a project, or you see him jumping in 15 to 20 minutes a night? Just where do you see him right away, I guess, for y'all?
It's hard to say. Nobody really knows where we're going to be when we start to put the combinations together on the floor. Thankfully, we have 4 games. I usually would want to play, 2 or 3 games and get right to it. But I'm glad we have 4 games so we can figure that out. I know he's a guy that is learning a lot. If you think about his life, the last close to a month, there's no rookie class or freshmen even in college who've had to deal with this kind of restart or start of this season. And so he's had to absorb a lot of information. He's done a good job, but we'll find out, what combinations work once we start playing. Looking forward to, our next practice and the scrimmage times, so that we can figure that out. What I do know is, what I saw in the workout in Maryland, I'm seeing the same thing. Even though he's learning a lot and he doesn't always pick it up as quickly as the veteran guys do, he knows how to move on to the next play. He can certainly shoot the ball, and he's a willing cutter and slasher without the ball. So that leads me to believe that he's going to somehow, some way find his way on the floor.
Next is Dwayne Rankin with the Arizona Republic, followed by Tressa Tudrick.
Thanks, Palmer. Coach, just looking at that 3-4 spot, I mean, that's so many guys you're talking about: Cam, Mikal, Jae, Dario. How do you see that evolving, and how versatile can that area be when you look at the guys you have available?
It's yet to be seen. I mean, I think, the guys you named, they also can slide over to the shooting guard spot too. Dario has the ability to play 5. We played him at the 5 a lot in Orlando, and it really helped us. His shooting ability, his passing. He has an ability on defense to play good body position defense against bigger guys, and I thought he moved his feet really well in switching situations. So I think all of those guys give you some options. I hope we have enough depth that it keeps those guys fresh. At the end of the regular season, the first 65, I was playing Mikal close to 40 minutes in those last few games. And that's something I think we want to stay away from. Having Jae and Cam in that position, along with, Dario plays some 4 and Jalen can play some 4. I think it keeps you from having to do that.
Next up, we have Tressa Tudrick with Channel 3, Channel 5. She'll be followed by Brendan Klein.
Coach, good afternoon. Thank you for your time. Just wanted to ask, as we're talking to Jae Crowder after this, what could you say about him and his contributions to the team and just how excited you are for his potential in this roster?
Well, Jay's a guy that, around the league, you watch the teams he's played on, and not many teams call plays for him, and somehow he figures out a way to be productive and effective offensively. Defensively, he's about as versatile as they come. He's a big, strong body. He's been in really good systems, from Utah and Miami. In Memphis, they played really well last year. Dallas, Boston, he's been on really good teams, and he's been around a lot of winning. And, I'm looking forward to learning from him and picking his brain on some things that he learned as he's traveled around the league. And his shooting went up when he went to Miami last year. And so that's, when guys continue to improve as they progress in their careers, that's a good thing, in my opinion, because it tells you they have the capacity to keep working and not settle and get satisfied with where they are in their careers. So we're very fortunate to have Jae on our roster.
Next up is Brendan Klein with Bright Side of the Sun, followed by Kellen Olson.
Monty, I know you're a guy who was probably watching those finals that Jae was competing in and thinking about him, maybe even since you've signed him, to see what was working for him. Because that shooting did get so much better, are there things that you want to do to create those situations where he can make shots at a consistent rate? Do you think there's anything on your part that needs to happen, or is that about him more so? I guess I'm just curious if you saw anything in those finals that made it that way, or that playoff run that made him be so effective.
No, I think it's a combination of things he can do, what I can do, but also the guards we have that are willing passers. If we had a younger guard, first, second year point guard, then it'd be a bit more on me to, figure it out. But I think, just using Chris as an example, Chris, he knows every position on the floor. And so I think that's something that will be a great benefit to Jae. But, I don't want to absolve myself from that equation. I think it's on me to figure out, ways to put him in our offense, maybe moving him around to a different spot and a different formation than we've ever ran before. But it may fit Jae to put him in a different spot so he can score. The thing I like about Jae is he's not just a jacker. If somebody's open, he moves the ball. He makes the right plays. And that was really intriguing to James and myself, because in our offense, it's a we score mentality. We want to move the ball, and we really don't care who scores. And so you have to have willing passers to play that way.
Next is Kellen Olson with Arizona Sports, followed by Dwayne Rankin.
Hey, Coach, I'm glad you mentioned that about Jae when it comes to his strength, because I think when versatility comes up for defenders, I think a lot of people think of Mikal first and just guys who are rangy and long and can defend quicker guys. But Jae brings that versatility with his strength, and watching him in the playoffs defending Giannis, LeBron, he loves to use his chest defending and take bumps. Can you speak on is that kind of a lost art now amongst defenders, just going to war like that? Because it feels like that's kind of fading away a little bit more, defenders like him, if you get what I'm saying.
Well, I rarely get what you're saying, Kellen. That's the question anyway. No, I think your point is spot on in that, Mikal is a longer, wiry, strong guy. Those guys tend to run into problems when they face the LeBrons and the Kawhis. Those guys are 235, 240. LeBron's 265. And so that's where you feel like Mikal can definitely use his energy and quickness against those guys. But Jae, he has the ability to play with his chest, but he has a really strong base. And, those guys can get in the way of the bigger forwards around the league. And then it helps when you're in a switching situation and he has to switch onto a 5. They're durable enough to go down there and bang with the big centers in our league. And so his not just versatility, but his IQ, and having been in a lot of situations. I was watching Utah play OKC on NBA TV yesterday, and Jay was out there battling Steven Adams. This was from a few years ago, I think. And, that kind of versatility, I think, helps you rebound the ball, helps you with physicality, and he's got the body and the experience to do that.
Next, we have Dwayne Rankin with the Arizona Republic, followed by Brendan Clean.
Yeah, Coach, I saw a photo of you and Devin from yesterday, and you were hugging him from behind. Seemed like you guys were having a good time, taking photos and stuff. What's it like when you have those kind of moments where you're just hanging out and you're doing something productive, but it's a fun thing, considering the times we're in right now with the stress of the pandemic and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even tell you what I was doing, man. You guys been around me long enough. The elevator doesn't always go up to the top floor. We just kind of goofing around. I can't even describe it. We just, probably me just being weird. But you're right. I mean, in these times, my hope is that, us playing basketball brings healing and hope to our society. To be able to partake in something that is a part of our normal economy is a good thing. And if we can put smiles on the faces of our fans and people around the country, around the world, that's awesome. That's bigger picture in my opinion. I've always said it, and I've learned it from the different mentors I've had, that if it's only about X's and O's, it's really boring. And so when we have those organic moments like that, where we're just kind of goofing around, and it's hard to do anything nowadays without somebody taking a picture. It's like you don't even want to hiccup or burp, because somebody can take a picture and post it and dive into what you were thinking when you burped. So it's like you don't even want to do anything half the time. But we just try to have a good time, man. We work really hard. We're pretty demanding program as it relates to working. And so when we have those moments to just goof around, man, it's pretty cool.
All right, Coach, final two questions will come from Brendan Clean with Bright Side of the Sun and Christos Saltis.
One more bigger picture question for you, Coach. Chris has touched on this obviously because of his role with the union and everything, and the questions looming about the season on his side. But I know in the bubble you took it very strongly to whether it was the movie you guys watched, talking to us about some of the social justice and just diversity of backgrounds that you kind of try to build up in your program. I'm curious what that looks like this season for you, if that's something you've put time into planning out, if it's going to be a roll with the punches situation. How much do you expect that to be part of this year for you guys?
Well, it was a part of our program before Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery. We valued learning about each other's cultures and backgrounds. We have a goofy thing that we do called Who Dat, and it's just a term that I got from my time in New Orleans, and we just try to learn more about each other's backgrounds and histories. And I felt like if we knew more about each other's backgrounds and histories, we'd have a better understanding as to why a person may say a certain thing a certain way, or what somebody might be thinking in a certain scenario, so that we don't make any type of judgment or assumption that could cause us to go down the wrong trail. And so we were doing it before, and we're going to continue to do that. As it relates to social justice and racial equality, that should never go away. I wish that I was green, because I think when you're an African American and you talk about it, sometimes the argument or this conversation gets hijacked and it goes down a different avenue. I'm not speaking up for racial equality because I want African Americans to be better or one up on any other community. I have a platform that's really, really small, but I feel like it's my responsibility to, do what I can to speak for the person who can't speak for themselves. And the only thing I want is for everybody, no matter what your color is, to be on the same level playing field. That's it. And I don't think there should be anything wrong with that. And I don't think that conversation should ever go away.
All right, Coach, final question is going to come from Christos Saltis with Sport DNA in Greece.
Hello, Coach. I would like to ask you about Dario Saric and DeAndre Ayton. How useful for them is to collaborate with players like Chris Paul and Jae Crowder who have a winning mentality, as DeAndre Ayton said some days before?
Yeah, thank you for joining us today. We feel like Dario's been around winning. He's been in Philadelphia where they made a really nice playoff run. He was a huge part of that. I think he and DA having 1 year under the belt and having some experience together is only going to make their transition with Jay and Chris and Etwan and the other guys that have come to our program hopefully easier. None of this stuff we do is easy, but hopefully their experience last year and playing in our system will make the transition of playing with Chris and Jay less obstacle laden. I'm hopeful that those guys understand what we do a lot better. Chris, just because he's a basketball savant, he pretty much picks up stuff pretty quickly. Jay, just from watching him over the years, has been in a number of really good programs. So I don't think he'll have a problem. He's a pretty smart player, has a high IQ on both ends of the floor. So I think it will help DA and Dario and our younger bigs transition a lot faster.